Middle East Crisis. Explained how diplomacy failed and conflict began. Introduction: calm, professional tone. This video is based on verified international reporting, official statements, and assessments from global institutions. It does not promote violence, speculation, or unverified claims. On February 28th, the Middle East entered a new and highly sensitive phase. Before sunrise, residents in Iran's capital, Tehran, reported loud explosions in central districts. Smoke was seen rising from multiple locations, prompting immediate attention from international media, satellite monitoring services, and regional observers. Within hours, official confirmation followed. Israel acknowledged carrying out military operations against targets inside Iran, and the United States confirmed its involvement in support roles. According to multiple major news outlets, this was not a limited or symbolic action. It was a coordinated military operation with regional implications. Diplomacy had failed, and a new confrontation had begun. What happened in the first hours? Iranian state media confirmed the explosions and made it clear that they were the result of external military activity. No attempt was made to describe the incident as an accident or technical failure. Almost simultaneously, Israel declared a nationwide state of emergency. Warning sirens were activated in multiple cities, and civilians were advised to remain near protected areas. Public institutions shifted into emergency mode, and hospitals increased readiness levels. Commercial aviation was immediately affected. Flights at Israel's main international airport were suspended. Israeli airspace was closed to civilian traffic, and Iran later shut down its own airspace entirely. Reports also indicated temporary disruptions to communications inside Iran. These measures strongly suggested that all sides were preparing for possible escalation rather than assuming the situation would quickly de-escalate. Israel's justification: preemptive action. Israeli officials described the operation as a preemptive strike. In military terms, a preemptive action refers to striking first when a country believes an adversary is preparing an imminent attack. Israeli authorities stated that intelligence assessments indicated growing and immediate threats that required urgent action. International analysts note that the term preemptive is often debated. Some argue it reflects genuine security assessments, while others say it can be used to justify actions planned well in advance. At this stage, there is no publicly available evidence that allows independent verification of the intelligence claims. What is clear is that Israel framed the operation as defensive in nature, aimed at preventing future harm rather than initiating open war. Diplomacy collapsed just hours earlier. The military action did not occur in isolation. Only about 36 hours earlier, high-level nuclear negotiations in Geneva ended without agreement. These talks were widely regarded as the final, serious diplomatic effort to prevent exactly this kind of escalation. According to multiple reports, the United States presented Iran with demands that included permanent limits on uranium enrichment, the dismantling of key nuclear infrastructure, and the removal of enriched material from Iranian territory. In exchange, Iran would receive sanctions relief and gradual normalization of relations. Iran rejected these terms, calling them unacceptable. Tehran's counterproposal reportedly included limited enrichment levels, consistent with civilian energy use, increased international inspections, and guarantees that future U.S. administrations could not withdraw from the agreement unilaterally. The two positions were fundamentally incompatible. There was no workable middle ground. The talks ended, and diplomacy effectively collapsed. Signals from Washington. Shortly after the negotiations failed, U.S. President Donald Trump addressed the situation during a public appearance, stating that he was dissatisfied with Iran's negotiating posture and that, in certain circumstances, the use of force becomes unavoidable. While the statement was brief, it was widely interpreted by analysts as a political signal rather than casual rhetoric. Within hours, noticeable shifts in U.S. military posture were observed by defense analysts and regional monitoring groups. Military movements and strategic timing. Reports indicated increased activity by U.S. naval and air assets in the region. Certain tracking systems were reportedly disabled, a step that is typically associated with preparation for sensitive military operations rather than routine patrols. Experts also highlighted the timing of the operation. Launching late on a Friday meant that global financial markets were closed and international news cycles were relatively quiet. This window allows governments more time to manage messaging before immediate economic and political reactions take hold. Such timing is not accidental. It reflects strategic planning. These capabilities involve allied groups across the region that can exert pressure without triggering immediate full-scale war. This strategy allows for response, while maintaining a degree of plausible distance from direct confrontation. Because of this risk, U.S. diplomatic missions in several Middle Eastern countries increased security measures, and non-essential movements were restricted. These actions indicate that intelligence agencies anticipate potential responses, even if the exact form remains uncertain. The nuclear verification problem. At the center of the crisis is the nuclear issue. Earlier in the week, the International Atomic Energy Agency stated that it could not fully verify certain aspects of Iran's nuclear activities due to limited access. Inspectors were unable to confirm operational status, material quantities, or storage locations with complete confidence. This verification gap is critical. When oversight mechanisms weaken, trust erodes. When trust erodes, governments begin planning based on worst-case assumptions. And when worst-case thinking dominates, diplomacy becomes increasingly fragile. This dynamic significantly raises the risk of military action. Even when no side claims to seek full-scale war, the human rights dimension. Alongside security concerns, human rights issues have also become part of the international discussion. United Nations officials recently expressed concern over legal cases in Iran following earlier protests, including reports of severe sentences. These developments have drawn international attention and added an ethical dimension to the political and security debate. U.S. officials have referenced these concerns in public messaging, framing the situation as involving both regional security and humanitarian considerations. This dual narrative has historically played a role in shaping international responses to major conflicts' global reactions so far. European governments have so far adopted a cautious stance. No major European state has issued a strong condemnation or full endorsement of the military action. This restraint suggests that global leaders are waiting to see whether the situation stabilizes or escalates further. Much depends on what happens next. If responses remain limited, escalation may pause. If major casualties or infrastructure damage occur, pressure for further action will increase rapidly.